We have a lot to discuss today. Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel and welcome to another Pokemon X, Y, and Z discussion. Today we have a lot of discuss. I'm going to go through all the episodes upcoming. We're going to do a mini review for the Quilladin episode, and we're going to talk about the next episode and a whole bunch of other episodes. We have a new title, and we have a couple of summary and some images and other information. So let's jump right into my mini review of the Quilladin episode. Okay, there we go. So the quick synopsis is the episode starts with Ash talking to Sycamore, and of course they show him Puny Chan, and everyone's like, "What's Puny Chan? Is that Puny Chan?" And of course Team Rocket are listening in, and they're like, "Puny Chan is a new Pokemon that we must have," of course. And then we get cut to Dedenne and Puny Chan fighting because there's not enough space. So Serena's like, "Hey, Bonnie, I'll take your bag and I will make it so it can hold two Pokemon, you know?" And so then Puny Chan is sunbathing again, using the Zygarde cells to monitor the surroundings, and then it just sleeps. Sunbathes, Team Rocket are watching. They're thinking of ways to do that. Eevee is being petted. Serena's or Bonnie's bag is done, or Pochette. Sorry, people out there. Pochette. So Bonnie's Pochette is done. So of course, then it could hold both Puny Chan and Dedenne. So everything is all good and dandy. So Serena tries to do Pokemon showcases, but then suddenly a random Quilladin appears out of nowhere with uh, heart-shaped eyes, and then uses Vine Whip to, in the shape of a heart, trying to go after Eevee. Ash uses the Pokedex on Quilladin and realizes that, hey, it's a Quilladin. It's the evolved form of Chespin. So then he does it again. Quilladin does it again with the heart shape. That doesn't work. So then of course, Quilladin uses Rollout, trying to impress it. Pancham and Chespin get involved because Quilladin is being creepy. So then it comes out, and then of course, when Eevee uses Double Team, Quilladin has an overload, like there's too many Eevee, he doesn't know what to do with the situation, and basically passes out. But of course, Eevee was just like being scared or being shy, and of course, this shocks both Pancham and Chespin. Quilladin is just another Chespin character. So, of course, everything kind of turns kind of normal. Quilladin tries to do what it can to impress Eevee. Quilladin has a argument sort of with Pancham and Chespin. Pancham and Chespin are trying to encourage Quilladin, but Quilladin doesn't want any of that. So then Quilladin thinks, "Oh, what if I beat Pancham? Then Eevee's gonna like it." And then we have this really creepy image that I'm going to show you. It's creepy because Eevee's all lovey-dovey with Quilladin, and it's just very creepy that they actually included that in the episode as a fantasy, because it's really creepy. You'll see what I mean. You just really have to think about it, and it's really creepy. So then Quilladin starts attacking Pancham, and of course we get battling and stuff. Um, Eevee is with Bunnelby, and there's some mention, I believe, of Eevee liking Bunnelby. Quilladin is crushed and upset or whatever. It's pretty funny that in the beginning, Eevee was supposed to have a crush on Pikachu, as supposedly as it was said, but actually, as it turns out, it was Bunnelby that Eevee has a crush on, which is pretty funny. So we get this cool versus screen. I don't know why it was necessary, but whatever. So Pancham battles against Quilladin. There's Rollout, uh, Needle Arm. Quilladin looks at Eevee and is and Evie's like sleeping, so Quilladin's upset. Pancham's like, "What's going on?" Chespin's like, "Hey, me!" And of course, I don't have the versus screen with Chespin and Clement versus Quilladin, so blah 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 blah. Quilladin seems like has an advantage over Chespin, but then Evie yawns. And then, of course, we get fake Puny Chan showing up. Puny Chan's like, what is that? Am I supposed to be impressed? But everyone else is like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, everything. Puny Chan is the only one that seems like it knows that that's not actually another Puny Chan, another Zygarde core. But it still follows it because everyone else is following it, and I guess it's just like, well, what are you guys doing? It's a fake Puny Chan. It's a fake Zygarde core. So then when they get really close, then of course Team Rocket captures. It sort of ends with rollout. Quilladin is happy that it used rollout on Chespin. Quilladin looks, and of course, there's it being captured. Everyone's like, "What's going on?" Team Rocket show up, of course. Blah 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 blah. So then Ash sends out Talonflame and Noibat to go searching. Chespin, Pancham, and Quilladin get upset, but Ash chastises them or chides them or whatever. And of course, then we see Bunnelby biting through the net, and then they escape through the water. It's really cute. It's kind of cute, I guess, with Bunnelby having its ears covering over Dedenne and Zygarde Core Puny Chan, while because they're small enough that it can actually be the case. It actually looks kind of cute. So then Team Rocket are talking. Then Jesse realizes that there's something wrong. This one's kind of weird. They didn't react the way that Team Rocket ordinarily would return. Because basically, what happened was they're talking. They don't realize that the Pokemon have escaped, I believe. And then Jesse looks down and it's like, well, they've escaped again, and then or whatever, and then or they've escaped, and then James is like, Meowth, turn the Team Rocket Meowth balloon around and go after them or whatever. It wasn't like the usual ones where they're actually comical in the sense that they're like, where Jesse's like, hey, what's going on with the net down there? Wasn't there anything there? And then they're like, they're missing, So we didn't get anything like that. We just got something weird, I guess. So Noibat and Talonflame come back and say they haven't seen anything, so they go off again in different directions. And then, of course, Pancham, Quilladin, and Pancham, Chespin, and Quilladin get in a fight again. Ash, of course, is chastising them, chiding them, or whatever, which comes to play later in the episode. And, of course, then we have Eevee and Bunnelby with Puny Chan and Dedenne running away. So then Bunnelby tries to do its best against battling against Team Rocket with Wild Charge. Then it tries to get involved using Nuzzle, but of course a Shadow Ball kind of knocks Dedenne out of the way. Bunnelby uses Mud Shot, I believe, and then digs underground, but then of course Gurgeist uses Seed Bomb, and Bunnelby is kind of out of the picture. Strangely, I don't know why Eevee didn't use Protect when it used Protect against Quilladin, so that's a little convenient plot thing going on. Zygarde Core, or Puny Chan, realizes that it probably has to fight Team Rocket off, and it starts to call along the Zygarde cells so it can become Zygarde 10% form. But before it has a chance, everyone else shows up, so it just stops glowing, doesn't have to do anything. So then, of course, Quilladin, Chespin, and Pancham sort of get in a fight. Ash is a little upset, but then Quilladin's like, enough! Remember what Ash said? We have to work together. I think that's what Ash said. So, yeah, I kind of like how Ash played a pivotal leader role. You know, Ash is like the de facto leader for the group. Everyone counts on Ash. She's like this champion or whatever. They kind of do what Ash says to do. His traveling companions, I remember Iris, or well, not Iris, but I think it was like Dawn and May would always ask Ash what they wanted to do. like if they could like stay here. Iris basically said that she wanted to stay behind for Dino, and then Ash was like, "Yeah, we can go here," and then Silent agreed. So Ash is like kind of like the de facto leader here or whatever, and it really shows in this episode when he was like chastising and chiding Quilladin and Chespin and Pancham. And then Quilladin's like, remember what Ash said? We have to work together. And so they work together. Ash is a little happy about this, that they're not arguing anymore. So then the battle happens with Quilladin, Chespin, and Pancham battling against Team Rocket. Of course, Team Rocket are blasted off with Rollout. So then Quilladin's happy. Eevee still doesn't like Quilladin. Quilladin is upset. Serena apologizes for Eevee. Eevee's kind of like upset with the head. Like, hey, wait a minute. Hey, come on now. Not my fault. Well, it is, but shut up. So then Quilladin's upset, but then he sees a Flareon and runs off, and everyone's like, hey, well, he rebounded pretty quickly, and then everyone's like, all right, off on to the next adventures or whatever. And then, of course, we see Quilladin running off. There's a Tailo being up, seeing Quilladin running after Flareon. Of course, we get this huge gap because it was talking about the Eevee, and evolutions because the Holocaster or whatever segment for the episodes actually changed. I neglected to mention this last time because I didn't know what was going on during that time because I thought it was like Pikachu TV, but apparently it's Pokemon TV. And last episodes was about Pikachu, and this particular episode was about Eevee and evolutions, and apparently after that we get a continuation for the episode where Quilladin goes up to Flareon and tries to flirt with Flareon, but Flareon burns it, and it's like basically the end of the episode. It kind of ends abruptly though. There's like no to be continued in this particular episode at all that I can see, so it is a little weird. But yeah, it was weird that there was this huge gap. The episode basically ended with either. Oh wait, there's the to be continued. So it ended right after they were talking and they got away, and then they were talking about the play or going on to the next one. Then we see a field shot or whatever, and then the whole Tailo Flareon scene seemed to like happen like after the episode. It was like I said, it was a huge gap. So yeah, I have to say I really liked Quilladin. I think Quilladin was a great character in the episode. Pretty funny at a lot of times during the particular episode, which was amusing and really cool to see. And it's really nice that Sycamore actually showed up to actually know about Puny-chan. So Sycamore is aware of Zygarde Core, even though he doesn't know that it's Zygarde Core. And I feel like Sycamore is going to have a revelation of what Puny-chan actually is, and they're going to realize that it is Zygarde Core, the most minimal Zygarde form there is, not counting Zygarde cells. So, but otherwise, ultimately, the episode was pointless. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe Quilladin shows up and Serena or Ash ends up capturing Quilladin later. But for right now, as it stands right now, this episode was ultimately pointless, and I can't understand why it even exists. And it really is surprising that it focuses on Eevee so much. And I realize some of the translations for this episode, like Dogasu from Bubble Garden, said that there was some subtle development for Eevee, and Eevee has grown accustomed to the group's Pokemon and is getting over its shyness and overcoming its ability to be its shyness or whatever. But I feel like ultimately that really doesn't matter because the problem is I don't feel like this episode should have existed really. I feel like Ash should have. I understand Ash wasn't going to be here, and I realized that with everything that's going to happen with Greninja really soon, I realized that throwing Ash into the fray probably wouldn't made any sense. But I feel like this would have been the perfect episode for development of Noibat. And you know, the thing is, it's not like Serena really got to do anything for her Pokemon Showcase. So this really wasn't really development for Serena. Basically, it was just an episode regarding a Pokemon of the day, Quilladin, a wild Quilladin, being attracted to one of Serena's Pokemon and therefore being the focus of the episode. But ultimately, it was just primarily about Quilladin battling against Pancham and Chespin. I'm not. I can. If this was any other time, this episode would have been good because it would have had great focus with Pancham, Chespin, and even Eevee, and there was some Dedenne and Puny Chan focus moments in it, and it would have been a great focus episode of the Pokemon in general. I mean, it really had Pancham and Chespin really out there, but you know, with the whole Pancham having a rivalry with Chespin, basically, you know, because they're always like fighting with each other almost, and in this particular episode, they're kind of like almost on the same side or whatever. It would have been a great focus for that, but I feel like this episode should have focused on Ash and Noibat, personally. But I guess with everything that's happening in the future, I can understand why they didn't. So, all right. So let's move on to the next episode, which of course is the Audino episode. And what I have here is of the preview that we've seen, and tomorrow, because I'm recording this on Friday, tomorrow in the United States at around 4 p.m., which is around Sunday in Japan, or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., something like that, is when we'll get the Pokenechi preview. But right now what we have for the preview is we have Sycamore takes a DNA sample, I'm assuming a Puny Chan. He takes a cotton swab, or yeah, cotton thing or whatever, Q-tip, basically, and rubs it against Puny Chan and puts it on like a one of those sample containers or whatever. I don't know what they're called. I know there's something specifically what they're called, uh, but basically, yeah, it's a sample container or whatever. And so we have that. So Sycamore is actually going to appear in person, which kind of makes sense with the other plot going on, which is, of course, about Mega Audino and stuff. So Sycamore shows up, actually sees Puny-chan in person, and takes a DNA sample. And I think that was what one of the points in this episode was, or in the Quilladin episode. I think Sycamore actually said that he was going to show up and do some testing on Puny-chan. So they're like excited that they're going to see Sycamore in person again or whatever. So anyway, so the preview also has Nurse Joy falling out with Audino. We see these they're bickering, they're fighting or whatever, and they like go away, but they really like each other. They're really fond of each other. They just have their differences or whatever. And then of course we see Audinite, the Mega Stone for Audino. And so that'll be interesting to see. And of course, Team Rocket are, of course, in the episode. That's all I have mentioned. I'm going to quickly look at the I'm going to look at the preview real quick and see if there's any interesting scenes that I may have missed, but that's pretty much it. Well, there is Ash saving Nurse Joy, so if people want to ship Ash with this particular Nurse Joy, that's fine with me, I guess. So everyone, so there's also a little boy that actually appears in the episode that's around Bonnie's age or whatever. He's like slightly taller, I think, than Bonnie, but then we see Puny Chan or whatever. Sycamore takes a sample of Puny Chan. Nurse Joy is locked out. We have Audino touching his Zigzagoon, and we see the falling out. Everyone is upset. I just noticed the background. Come on. everyone has this weird shocked face or whatever. The only one that looks almost remotely normal is Serena, although she looks really tiny. Have you seen? I know it's not necessarily a good, decent show, basically, because it's kind of a more childish version, even though it may be different than what I think. But have you seen Teen Titans Go, which is the tiny Teen Titans of the yesteryear when we actually got full animation for Teen Titans or whatever, and we got like this childish little tiny version of Teen Titans with Teen Titans Go. I don't really watch the show basically because it's not Teen Titans really, and of course the voice actors are different as well, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it kind of looks like that almost. In fact, I think there have been examples of this actually happening in the Pokemon anime. I think we've actually seen like a little tiny Ash or whatever at some point throughout the series or whatever. It's kind of like that, and they're like really tiny. They're not that tiny. They're not like a little head with just like arms and legs, kind of like Teen Titan Go, but they really are small, and it's really noticeable with Serena and Ash, because Ash has this really long neck and Serena's like this really skinny, tiny thing or whatever. They look like little kids in that little picture, and Bonnie and the boy actually looks like they're a lot younger than they actually are. And of course, Sycamore just looks a little bit younger, but yeah, it's really funny to see this image. I didn't even notice it before. Anyway, moving on. So then we see Audino, Sycamore holding up Audino. And then, of course, we see Giga Giga Meow. Team Rocket. Ash is shocked about this. Then we see some cutesy Meow scene. And then we see Mega evolving Audino. We don't actually see that. Instead, for the sponsored part of the thing, we see, which I'm probably not going to be able to show you, is Nurse Joy wearing clothes and then taking them off, showing her Nurse Joy that she is Nurse Joy underneath. And then we have Sycamore talking about Nurse Joy and Audino talking about Mega Evolution, obviously. Obviously, he's talking about Mega Evolution, or the bond between Nurse Joy and Audino in relation to Mega Evolving. So that's another reason why Sycamore is actually in this episode, is because this Nurse Joy, I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, is like a uh, unintentional pupil to Sycamore. Like you have like your hero, like if you want to be an archaeologist or something, and you have this archaeologist in mind who is your hero and it's your idol, and you want to work and you want to take in his work, you want to follow his footprints, but not not actually be a part of his archaeology team, not working alongside him because you have to work on your own because you don't have the chance to see. Oh, in the sponsor part, yeah, we kind of see that little Ash kind of character. It's a little bit bigger than like Teen Titans Go example, but yeah, it's kind of like that anyway. But yeah, like you following your archaeologist idol or whatever, it's kind of like that. This Nurse Joy studies Mega Evolution, idolizes Professor Sycamore, and wants to be like Sycamore in an instant, kind of similar. Like her main job is to be a Nurse Joy, but her hobby is, of course, Mega Evolution and studying Mega Evolution from her aspect. So that's another reason why Sycamore actually appears in this episode, is not just because of Puny Chan, but it's also because of this particular Nurse Joy. Which actually kind of makes this episode make a little bit more sense. I'm still not entirely looking forward to this episode because it's needless to have a Mega Audino battling against Team Rocket, and of course, Noibat isn't going to show up because Yuka Terasaki wasn't listed in the VAs for this episode, and we're not going to get anything else, I don't think, in terms of Pokemon showing and doing anything. But now that I've thought about it after discussing it right here, right now, this episode actually does make a lot of sense. I'm still not looking forward to it, but I can understand why they did it. Because Sycamore was going to show up anyway to do some tests on Puny Chan, So of course it made sense that they would create a plot about a Nurse Joy studying Mega Evolution and having a Pokemon that can Mega Evolve Audino, and then having Sycamore show up with an Audinite and everything. So yeah, this episode isn't really that bad. I guess I can see why it actually exists. Still disappointed in it, but whatever. So anyway, we'll move on because I have to discuss the rest of the episodes and then I need to stop this particular video. So let's go ahead and talk about the other information that we have here. So I have a picture and you're going to see it, and I don't want you to necessarily think anything of it. And the summary that comes along with this image is a more proper summary for this episode, and of course this is the Litleo episode, is evil clutches descend over Litleo that's trying as hard as it can. In order to challenge the Kalos League, Ash and his friends continued their journey to Snowbell City, the location of the final gym. Just then, they encounter a Litleo about to leave its pride in order to live on its own. However, a mysterious shadow has its eyes fixed on that Litleo. Now, the image shows Ash holding Litleo, and some people are like, Ash is going to capture a Litleo! Ash is going to capture a Litleo! No, I don't think that's the case. I think what it implies more is that, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get Jesse or James capturing Litleo. I think this is just going to be another Pokemon of the day. Like Quilladin, it's just going to be a wild Litleo. The reason why Ash is there is because apparently Ash has more of a bond with Litleo, kind of like Cottony. It's going to be probably a lot like Cottony, the episode in Best Wishes. The only difference is Ash is not likely to use Noibat to help out Litleo. Unlike, say, Best Wishes, where Scraggy actually got some development in that particular episode. Maybe not great development, but it still got to do things in that episode. So it's going to be different in that sense. But yeah, so I don't really think Ash is going to capture Litleo. I feel like Litleo would have been in the opening because it makes no sense to have Ash Greninja in the opening but not Litleo. And I think any of the captures and evolution that we think is going to happen, like Eevee, Serena's Eevee evolving into Sylveon, Noibat into Noivern. I don't know if I mentioned this, but there is another image that confirms that Noibat is going to evolve into Noivern before Eevee. Granted, not all of the group's Pokemon were on there. I don't think Hawlucha was on it, but I will probably try and show you, like right now, that particular image. But I feel like if Litleo was going to be important, there would at least be something indicating its capture. I feel like there's more Quilladin merchandise going for Quilladin and more evidence going for Quilladin rather than just random Litleo. So I don't think Litleo is going to do anything important or anything. So I feel like it's just going to be another random filler episode like Quilladin, where Ash helps out Litleo. Litleo becomes independent and moves on. Everyone moves on. Blah, 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 blah. Or maybe, surprise twist, Jesse ends up capturing it. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see the preview next week or whatever, and then maybe we'll have more to discuss then. So anyway, moving on to the next one, we have the Squishy Pikachu Dreams of Squishy episode, and I missed a data broadcast Pokemon for this particular episode, and the reason why is because we already knew the title of the episode and we already knew a little bit of the summary, or we knew a little bit about the episode. And when data broadcast Pokemon show up, I tend to only focus on the actual new episodes that show up, so I tend to forget about the other ones. And I realized that I shouldn't, because surprise, surprise, Darkrai is going to show up in this episode. I know I'm a little late on this, and I apologize, but yes, Darkrai is showing up in this particular episode. But the reason why I missed it is because we already had a title for this episode, and we already knew what this episode was going to be about for the most part. So I didn't really think to see if there was any new summaries or information on this particular episode, and I only focused on the brand new information that we didn't know, which is the other episode. So yeah, I apologize for not mentioning Darkrai. If I'm not mistaken, Audino was the data broadcast for XYZ, the third episode of XYZ, Quilladin for XYZ2, and Litleo for XYZ episode 4. So yeah, I apologize. That means Darkrai is going to appear in some fashion, and it makes sense because Pikachu dreams of puny chans. Remember when I said that I didn't want the dub to just call puny chan squishy? I actually thought about this, and if they called it like Squisher or something like that, I think I'd be okay with that, like Squisher, you know, or they could just keep Puny Chan. I don't know what the dub's gonna do, but I really hope they don't go with Squishy, like I've said in a previous video. Anyway, I would make a Tobias joke, but at this point it's way too outdated to make because I'm a little late on this. So, um, before I just discuss my speculation for the Darkrai, there is a summary that just recently came out, and it's a very interesting summary, and I'm looking forward to this episode, even if it's not really relevant outside of showing off 10% farm to the rest of the group, possibly. But here's the summary for this particular episode, and it's really interesting. Pikachu wakes up one night. The group is camping out to find that Ash and his friends' Pokemon are all talking human language for some reason, such as like Noibat, Luxray, Chespin, Clement, Halusha, Frogadier, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Frogadier is going to be a Frogadier at this point. Pikachu is completely confused, having no idea what's going on at all. But just then, it hears someone tell it, "Help me," which is very interesting. Which means that if Pikachu was not affected and this wasn't about Pikachu, it would be IQ Otani using her Pikachu voice but speaking in a human language. So IQ Otani speaking Japanese because that's where Pokemon comes from. But for example, so we're going to get like Yuka Terasaki who voices Ash's Noibat or Satoshi Onbat instead of on bat or whatever. Well, she doesn't really do that, does she? Yuka Terasaki just makes cute noises for Ash's Noibat or on bat, Satoshi's on bat. So instead of making those cute voices, on bat or Noibat is actually going to speak in that particular language. And then, of course, how this relates to the dub is potentially whoever voices Ash's Noibat in the English dub is probably going to speak in English language. So I really think it's cool that suddenly everyone is going to turn into Meowth, basically, and speak in human language or whatever. So that's going to be very interesting. And of course, since it centers around Pikachu, and Pikachu is probably the target of these dreams or whatever. That's why Pikachu is unable to speak. Speaking of a hypothetical situation where Pikachu was affected, like if this was Froggy dream and Pikachu spoke and Aiku Otani spoke in the Japanese language and translated, that means the dub would have to get someone who sounded similar to Aiku Otani, although I'm pretty sure it's going to be really hard to do that just so they can have dialogue for that particular episode. So potentially, whatever, if Sawyer and the Pikachu talk in the Pikachu cosplay episode, if they had the same VA in the dub, which I don't know if that makes sense because Sawyer sounds very weird in the dub if I'm not mistaken. Sounds like more mature. So whatever Pikachu whatever the human language that was spoken in the dub for the Pikachu cosplay episode, I don't know if it's come out or if it's coming out yet. I don't know. I know it's coming out or it has come out. So it's been dubbed at least, but I don't know. During that scene where they're looking at the movie and Aiku Otani kind of sounds like Shota while talking in Pikachu or talking as Pikachu that can speak human language. I don't know if it would be the same dub if Pikachu was the one to speak human language, but this is interesting because it's going to be cool to see Ash and friends Pokemon speaking the human language, like Luxray talking, Frogadier talking, Dedenne talking. It's going to be an amazing episode, even if it's really just a dream or a nightmare or whatever. So how I think Darkrai is going to appear is Darkrai has the ability uh, it has its own move, Dark Void, which causes Pokemon to fall asleep or whatever. I don't think they take any damage. I think it's just a sleep effect. And of course, Darkrai also has an ability where it actually, I think it absorbs the energy of the Pokemon as they're sleeping, I believe. Uh, I don't know if it's absorbed the energy or it just deals damage while Pokemon are asleep, but I think it's absorbed damaging. But let me look here. It's like bad dreams or something like that. Bad dreams reduces a sleeping foe's HP. So basically, it just reduces their HP. So Darkrai is basically a dream eater. It's like the personification of a dream eater because it has everything to do with dreams and sleep or whatever. That's the mythology around Darkrai. It's not necessarily evil, but it causes Pokemon to fall asleep and have nightmares and stuff. And then Cresselia, the opposite of Darkrai, and I'm wondering why Cresselia didn't become a fairy type, because it would have been able to combat Darkrai, since Darkrai is weak against or whatever. But yeah, Cresselia is like a dream catcher. It's like Cresselia is kind of like a dream catcher kind of instance where it like helps with joyful dreams, and it prevents the bad dreams from happening. So I feel like, yeah, see, Cresselia is still a psychic type. Kind of disappointing, but whatever. But yeah, Darkrai is like it's the pitch black Pokemon or whatever. So it has to do with dreams. It's a nightmare Pokemon basically. It can learn Dream Eater, um, Dark Void causes them to go to sleep, so it's like hypnosis, but a more powerful version of it, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so I feel like Darkrai is going to be here and it's going to cause nightmares for Pikachu. And maybe, I don't know if Darkrai would have the ability to do this, but remember when Olympia said something along the lines that that there was a Kalos crisis or whatever? Maybe Zygarde Core saw what could happen as a Kalos crisis or whatever, and Pikachu dreams this, maybe because of Darkrai. So I think Darkrai is just there, like similar to the Canalave City episode with Byron, where Byron still hadn't shown up or whatever, and there was that Darkrai Cresselia episode around that time where Dawn Swinub evolved into Piloswine, and there were still those particular episodes before the gym battle that all took place in Canalave City, I believe, or whatever. So I feel like it's going to be something like that. So Darkrai is going to be something like that, and it's going to cause nightmares for Pikachu. So anyway, then we go on to our new title that was recently revealed, at least as far as I'm aware. It was recently revealed when I woke up because I didn't know this was going to be the case. I looked on Cerebi.net, and there was a new title. So we have Welcome to the Ninja Village, The Legend of the Hero Greninja. And of course, this has Venusaur as the data broadcast Pokemon, if you remember. And the summary, of course, is after reuniting with the Ninja Boy Senpai and his Greninja, Ash and his friends get invited to a festival being held in the Ninja Village. The group has fun at the festival interacting with the villagers, but suddenly trouble occurs when the village elder is abducted by a mysterious ninja army. So the Venusaur is going to be Nihai's, I believe. Nihei. I think it's Nihai, but I could be wrong. I don't know Japanese names very well. Or if Nihai is a Japanese name or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it. I guess we'll have to see in this particular episode. I don't remember what Senpai said in his debut when he was talking about his brothers, but yeah. I feel like this is the episode Frogadier is going to evolve in, and I have reasons and it's speculation for the next episodes or whatever that's going to come by. So I feel like yeah, Sanpai, Frogadier is going to evolve in this particular episode or whatever, and there's gonna be some aspect or whatever, and then XY007, the Greninja speculation. I don't know if this is still going to be about the Ninja Village, but I feel like this is going to be Alon related, and it's going to relate to the opening. And we actually may get Ash Greninja at some point in this episode. Now, I know there's only like 21 minutes per episode of actual episode focus, not counting openings, not counting endings, not counting Poke TV. So I don't know how this is going to appear, but I feel like Ash Greninja is going to show up in the next episode. Or this is going to be Ash versus Alon, Mega Charizard X versus Greninja, with Frogadier evolving in the episode 6. This is where we get some sort of rift between Ash and Greninja. Greninja shows up in the next episode regarding Eevee, which is the Pokemon Showcase potentially, and Greninja gets some focus, and they have a little more falling out during that moment. And then, of course, in the 9th episode, the Drapion episode, is where we actually might get Ash Greninja for the first time. Or if that's not the case, then XYZ, the 6th episode, is going to be Frogadier evolving into Greninja, and then the following episode, the Greninja data broadcast, that's where we're going to get Ash Greninja. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I feel like Ash Greninja might actually happen in this particular episode, but something happens and it doesn't work out properly. We'll actually see Ash Greninja the first time in this episode, but nothing will happen. Ash Greninja won't be able to handle its power very well, and it might end up in a failed attempt, maybe. Like if this was Ash versus Alon, maybe Greninja becomes Ash Greninja during the fight or whatever, and they don't do very well, and and it doesn't end up very well. So we see Ash Greninja, but it doesn't work out very well. Ash Greninja still loses, and that's what causes the rift. And then, of course, we have this Eevee episode and this Drapion episode where it actually might actually turn around, and then that's when Ash Greninja will actually be able to connect with its power and everything, and then Ash will be able to use Ash Greninja properly or whatever. So I feel like that's what's going to happen for the upcoming episodes after this Ninja Village or whatever. But speaking of the Ninja Village, the Legend of the Hero Greninja, I wonder if that's going to be like Ash Greninja, but of that particular time. Like, let's say that hero back then that had that Greninja was Sanpai. So it'd be Sanpai Greninja instead of Ash Greninja, and maybe we'll see this weird image of that particular Greninja indicating that this might be a mechanic in the next games where it takes the whatever your character is designed as, some aspects of that show up in that new form of Greninja or whatever. Because I still think this is going to appear in the games, because I don't think they're just not going to show this in the games or whatever. Even if all we get for the Mega Greninja or Synchro Greninja or whatever you want to call it, even if it is simply just Ash Greninja and it doesn't take our character's appearance a little bit or whatever. So yeah, although I feel like there's going to be some similarities or whatever, I think maybe the colors might be the same. I think they might be able to do that. I think they might be able to design each particular Synchro Greninja or Mega Greninja, however you want to call it. I still don't know what to call Ash Greninja. We'll call it Synchro Greninja based on that one image that we've seen. So Synchro Evolution Greninja. I'm sure they can easily put in some aspects of that within the actual games that relates to the player character, and so that's why Ash Greninja is so like Ash Greninja, is because it's relating to that particular aspect. So blah 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 blah. I guess. Anyway, moving on. So I feel like, yeah, the Legend of the Hero Greninja has to deal with that Synchro Greninja, and I feel like the whole ninja village concept was created as a result of that particular Greninja, and it's so closely guarded and kept secret, which is why when Sycamore said that there has never been any confirmed cases of Greninja mega evolving, it could be because Greninja doesn't mega evolve but synchro evolves, and it's just a legend, and Sycamore never actually heard about it because Sycamore may have heard the tale, if he heard the tale, and probably assumed that it was just a very powerful Greninja that did very well back then, not realizing that it was synchro evolution or whatever you want to call Ash Greninja. So that's why it's never been heard before, but it has been heard in the Ninja Village because that's what the whole Ninja Village was basically created from, was that legendary tale of that particular Greninja that was like Mega Greninja, but not really Mega Greninja. And maybe they actually have an image of that particular Synchro Evolution Greninja, and maybe we'll see a little image of it and it'll look a little bit different than Ash Greninja. I mean, of course, it will have some similarities. I think it will have that giant shuriken on its back or whatever. So we'll definitely see something like that. So yeah, that's what I expect this episode to be about. And then I feel like if the next episode has to do with Ash Greninja and not Alon, then I feel like that the village elder will realize that there's something special between Ash and his Greninja or Frogadier, depending on the aspect, and he'll come to the realization that their idea that they can actually have a Synchro Evolution Greninja is false, possibly. Or maybe Synchro Evolution Greninja is common in that village or whatever. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to this because it's definitely relating to Greninja. Definitely going to be relating to Ash Greninja. So I'm really looking forward to this particular episode. Even though I feel like Frogadier should have evolved before then. But whatever. At least we're finally getting it, even though we have to wait till December before any of this happens. And we still have 1, 2, 3 episodes left to go in November before this actually happens. So I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else to discuss. A little bit more for the Drapian speculation. Again, as I've already said, I feel like this is about Celosia and her Drapian. Bryony might show up with her B Sharp, and we might actually get to see that scene with B Sharp battling against Drapion. Not Drapion, sorry, B Sharp. Ash Greninja battling against B Sharp, and I feel like that might be what we get to see. And I don't know about that shot, that synchro evolution shot that we see with like a blue glowy silhouette of Greninja and Ash coming together to create Ash Greninja. I don't know if we're gonna get that in this particular episode or in the previous episode. So I will definitely have a better idea of what to speculate once we get the title for the 7th episode. Speaking of which, I really don't know when the next Pokemon Fan is going to come out. I feel like it came out, what, September maybe? So we actually might get Pokemon Fan this month, I think. So I guess look forward to that. And Koro might reveal Pokemon XZ or Pokemon Z version, and might even reveal even more about what's going on with Ash Greninja as it relates to the games potentially. Although I feel like they're going to wait till the December Koro for that, but I could be wrong. But I guess we'll have to see. Koro should come out relatively soon. Maybe there will be some interesting discussion to discuss then, and so on and so forth, about the anime, about the games, about everything going on. And if Pokemon Fan really did come out in September, then I expect another Pokemon Fan magazine to come out relatively soon, and we may indeed get the 7th title episode, as well as the Eevee episode, as well as the Drapion discussion, and we may actually know that Ash Greninja is coming relatively soon. So if Pokemon Fan comes out the 15th, I expect by next Friday, I might have a Pokemon Fan discussion or whatever. So anyway, that's all I have to say about this. Oh, 50 minutes. This is all I have to say about this, everything or whatever. So thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.